Salut tout le monde, welcome back to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is Francia, and on this channel, we talk about lifestyle, beauty, makeup, fashion, life, and everything in between. So I hope you consider hitting your subscribe button and your notification bell so that you always know when I upload. Okay, so a little background on today's episode. I have said this on here before. I have been on this journey to better myself. So I do a lot of reading and a lot of researching. And while I was doing my usual research, I came across this article, which I thought was really, really interesting. So I wanted to share it with you guys. So today's topic is a bit close to home for me because this is something that I have struggled and continue to struggle with. I'm not all the way over it, so it's a work in progress. I am referring to self-worth and or self-esteem. So before we go any further, what is self-worth? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, self-worth is, and I quote, a feeling that you are a good person who deserves to be treated with respect, end quote. And according to Dr. Christina Hibbert's definition, and I quote, self-esteem is what we think, feel, and believe about ourselves. Self-worth is recognizing I am greater than all of these things. It is a deep knowing that I am of value, I am lovable, I am necessary to this life, and I am of incomprehensible worth, end quote. Self-worth is something that must come from within. It is very dangerous to tie our self-worth to outside factors over which we have zero control, which is why a lot of times you see those Hollywood people get involved in some very interesting situations. There's a lot of things in this life that should have absolutely nothing to do with how valuable you are as a person. With that being said, here are a few factors that do not or should not determine your self-worth. First one is your to-do list. When we set goals, you write everything down and you're going down the list. If you wanted to book this campaign, you cross that off your list. If you wanted to book this one movie, you cross that off your list. If you wanted to travel to this place, you cross that off your list. These are all great feelings. These are great accomplishments, but they have no bearing on how valuable you are as a person. You would still be of value whether or not you booked the movie. You would still be of value whether or not you landed this campaign. Next one is your job. I know we hear this all the time, but it's true. It does not matter what you do. It matters that you do it well and that it fulfills you. Now, you could be working a job right now that you don't necessarily like, but still figure out what you do like and what does fulfill you and work towards that as you maintain this job if you deem it necessary to sustain your lifestyle, because it doesn't change your value as a person whether you're the janitor or you're the CEO. The next one, I think we're all guilty of that one, from time to time. I'm not gonna lie, it happens to all of us. But the next one is social media following. It does not matter how many people think that you are worthy of a follow. Yes, sometimes we get some sort of, validation, or it makes you feel happy or whatever. But at the end of the day, it does not matter what people think, whether or not people feel like you deserve to be followed, whether they think you're cool enough. It does not change the fact that you are a valuable person and you have your place on this planet. The next one is your age. And yes, that's another one we hear all the time. You are never too old or never too young for anything. I'm just gonna leave this right here. The next one, oh Lord, okay, I'm about to wrap myself out just a little bit, but the next one I relate to so much. Okay, the next one is your grades. Okay, pause, story time. Oh, I'm guilty of this. Now, going through the school system in Haiti is completely different than going through the school system over here. In Haiti, I was a great student, right? And then I moved here, and then I went to this school to learn English. I went to this vocational school to learn English. And I was like, okay, they don't teach the same way. They're not sending me home with anything to go memorize. Okay, that's weird. And that was the first encounter where I was like, okay, I don't know. And then I went to Valencia and it got worse. It got so much worse. I was like, oh my gosh, this cannot be real life. And I thought it was bad, but wait, there is more. Then I started nursing school. And then that one just completely, like my self-worth took like the biggest of hits ever when I started nursing school. I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like I didn't know anything in this life. Like their testing method was, while all of these answers are correct, tell me which one is the most correct. Now, here I am learning this whole critical thinking thing for the very first time in my whole entire life. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I don't need to go home and take your lecture and just like memorize every single word that I've written down from your lecture, combine that with what's in the book, and then go to the testing place and just regurgitate that on the paper. That's not what I have to do. I have to actually think and make rational decisions and come up with the answer. It was horrible. It was horrible. So I felt like I was useless. I felt like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. And then I started going to the hospital for clinical rotations, and I would do really good there, except from the fact that I was really, really shy and I just like blended in the background because I did not want to be seen. But you know, when I was pushed in the forefront, I did good, but when I would get to class, it just wasn't it. It was not it. And yeah, my self-esteem took a really big hit. And yeah, so your grades should have no bearing on your worth as a person. The next one is the number of friends you have. Your value as a human has absolutely nothing to do with the number of friends that you have or the number of connections that you have. What matters is the quality of those friends, and even then, that still has nothing to do with your self-worth. And last but not least, money. Whew. Money. As much as we like to think so, money is not a determining factor of our self-worth. You are the only one who can determine your self-worth. If you believe you are worthy and valuable, then you are worthy and valuable. If you don't believe you're worthy and valuable, guess what? You're still worthy and valuable, because why? God created you that way, and He does not make mistakes. It's just a matter of you doing the work so that you are able to see yourself the way that He sees you. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's definitely not. And if you've ever struggled with like self-esteem and self-worth, you know that it is an ongoing battle. One minute you feel great, you feel like you're on top of the world, and the next minute you're like, why am I here? So definitely not easy, but there are things that we can do to help us develop, increase, and maintain our self-worth. With that being said, here are 5 activities that you can practice daily or whenever you feel like it to help you increase and or maintain your self-worth. Now, these don't have to be in any particular order, and you can spend as much time you want or need on one or at any of them really before you move on, or you can come back to whichever one you feel like you need to practice more at the time. Activity number 1, increase your self-understanding. Now, to do this one, there's a couple of exercises that you have to do. There's a series of questions that you have to ask yourself. I don't know what just happened to my voice, but there's a series of questions that you need to ask yourself in order to increase your self-understanding. I'm going to ask you these questions, but when you're doing it, you need to ask yourself the questions. But for now, I'm going to ask you these questions and see what you come up with as your answers. What if everything you had was taken away from you? Your possessions, your friendships, your relationships, your job, your career, your accomplishments, your achievements. What if everything you had was taken away from you? What if all you had left was just yourself? How would that make you feel? What would you actually have that would be of value? And really think about your answers. They may come easy, they may not come easy. You may have to do some soul searching, but think about your answers. The next set of questions is, who are you? How are you? How are you to the world? How are you in the world? How do others see you? How do others speak about you? What key life moments define who you are today? What brings you the most passion, fulfillment, and joy? Now, I know these may sound easy to some people, maybe not to some, but I know from personal experience, the first time that I had to answer these questions, I was like, am I supposed to know these? These were questions about myself, and I had zero clue as to how to answer them. I was like, I don't know the answer to this and to these questions. And it took me a while. It took me a lot of thinking, a lot of soul searching, like to even figure out how to even start to answer these questions. So if the answers don't come to you right away, it's not a big deal. It's very normal. Just take your time, do your work, do your thinking, until you figure out the answers. And then it's gonna come a time where it'll just roll off your tongue, or you may have to do this all over again as you evolve and change in life. You never know. But once you have a good understanding of who you are and what fulfills you and brings you joy, next set of questions you need to ask yourself, you need to explore, is the things that you're not necessarily good at, your flaws and things like that. Where do you struggle the most? Where do you need to improve? What fears often hold you back? What habitual emotions hurt you? What mistakes do you constantly make? And where do you tend to constantly let yourself down? So these are the questions that you also have to honestly answer about yourself. These are where you're, not so great. This is where part of being a flawed individual, comes into play. So this may be a bit uncomfortable, but commit to it. That way you are aware of the areas where you're not so great. So then you get to focus on your greatness. Like, what abilities do you have? And what are you really good at? I read something somewhere. It says if you're 20% good, I'm saying good. If you're 20% good at chemistry, and you are 80% good at reading, it would take you a lot more time to bring that 20 to 100 than it would to bring that 80 to 100. So it would serve you best to just focus on bringing that 80 to 100 and just leave that 20 alone. Just be aware of that 20. Know that 20 is there, but do not focus and spend your time in trying to bring that 20 to 100. Focus on that 80. So it is very important for us to be aware of our flaws, of the things that we're not so great at. Be aware of them, but do not dwell on them. Focus on the things that you are great at. Focus on your, grabilities. That's the word I just made up. Great abilities. Your grabilities. Yes, it's lame. Let me be great. You had to be there. But yeah, focus on the things that you're great at and just be aware of the things that you are not so good at. The next activity is to boost your self-acceptance. Now, After answering the above questions that I have just asked you, as honestly as you possibly can, you're going to find out that you may have, some flaws, and you may have a lot of shortcomings that you probably weren't even aware of. The most important key to boosting your self-acceptance is to forgive yourself. Think of any struggles, need for improvement, mistakes, bad habits, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, and commit to forgiving yourself and accepting yourself without judgment or excuses. I have no idea what is going on with my voice, but it goes in and out. Maybe I talk too much. The next activity is, it just did it again. The next activity is to enhance your self-love. Now, once you have a pretty good understanding of who you are and you have learned to accept that person, then you can begin to build a loving and caring relationship with yourself. Pay attention to the tone you use when talking to yourself. Make sure it's positive and uplifting. It's very important to remember that. Make sure you use uplifting and positive tone when talking to yourself. Make it a goal to extend yourself kindness, tolerance, generosity, and compassion. Very important. Learn to love yourself, and you can only do that if you understand and accept yourself. The next activity is to recognize your self-worth. Now, once you understand, accept, and love yourself, you will realize that you no longer need other people's approval, accomplishment, achievement, or any other external factors for your self-worth. Just keep reminding yourself that you no longer need to please people. No matter what people do or say, or regardless of what happens outside of you, only you can control how you feel about yourself. You have the power to respond to events and circumstances based on your internal factors, which are the reflection of your true value. Activity number 5, take responsibility for yourself. Practice being responsible for yourself, your circumstances, and your problem, but be careful. You have to remember to do that in a very healthy way. For example, take full responsibility for everything that happens to you without giving away your personal power. And also acknowledge that you have the power to change and influence the things and circumstances that happen in your life. And that, my friends, conclude all the 5 activities that I had for you today. I really encourage you guys to read this article. I'm going to link it in the description below. Be sure to check it out. It has a lot more wonderful information on there, and the video is going to be way too long if I shared everything, but I really do encourage you guys to go check it out. It was an eye-opener for me, and it's very, very helpful. So I hope you guys check it out. Now we are going to go ahead and share our win and our favorite quote for this week, for today, for the last couple of hours, whatever rows your boat. Mine is gonna be for this week. My favorite quote for this week is, "No one can make you feel inferior without your approval." And my win for this week, well, actually last week, I submitted an application for something that I have been dying to do for a couple of years now. And I got a positive email back, and I'm so excited about that. So that's my win for this week. And I almost didn't send it. I was like, oh my gosh, I try to do this so many times. They're not even gonna pay attention to me this time. But they did. And I'm gonna be moving forward with it, and I'm so excited. And I'll let you guys know what it is when it gets here. But that was my win for this week, or last week. All right, so this is it, you guys, for today's video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe, and share this video with a friend if you found it helpful. And like I say, you never know how you're going to help someone. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I will see you guys in my next one. But until then, I hope to see you guys in the comment section. Bye.